over on you.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
I'll introduce you as Dr. Steve Davis.
That's
Should
fine.
I use that?
That's fine.
You don't care if we use both names?
No. But just during the show, you can just call me Steve.
Yeah, yeah. He enjoys all aspects of it, including the putting up the preserves and canning and doing all that at the end of the season. So when we got around to that subject, I thought I'd try to get him to come on the show, and he graciously said he would. So, Steve, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for inviting. Which is yet to come up, and then grapes, blackberry, strawberry, and then I can move into the garden and decent squash crop.
You know, my tomatoes this year have not done well. What varieties did you plant?
Oh, I did. I usually grab that's just of different types, like the beefsteak, the Better Boy.
They were there. They were all about the size of a tennis ball, and then they'd start to ripen, and I'd have to pick them.
You know what? And then parsley.
And so do you? How do you use those tomatoes during the winter? You use them for soups and chilies and things like that?
Soups and chilies, and for any of my pasta sauces, it's just take it, open it up, dump it in, and it's really, really good. Lately I've been actually making, instead of with my tomatoes, I'm actually making my own marinade.
You liked and so on,
it's just kind of which one's on sale but isn't really cheap. I don't have your own, just add so much to any sauces.
Yeah.
So.
Rice, little rice dinners. They have Spanish tomatoes, and we go by their directions, and then we'll put a half a bottle of our tomatoes in them.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it totally different.
Yeah, that's how I use them.
So I have a question. Why do you cold pack rather than the hot?
I just do it.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah, I was wondering if there's a method or a reason behind it.
And the other thing that I'll do sometimes is I will, I got a freeze dryer about 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And
I didn't know there was a difference between freeze dry.
Oh, yeah. He was telling me about this during the weekend, and it's really interesting.
Oh, wow.
So I brought some samples here just so that you can try. But so peaches, the typical way to preserve peaches is you make a jam or where you add a syrup to the bottle.
Okay.
And then you put it in the water bath and you seal it.
Yeah.
The bottles with the liquid around it and everything. But this is wonderful on cereal. Like if you crumble this on cereal.
Well, that's what they do when they
cereal.
put strawberries in. Yeah.
So if you have fruit in your cereal, those are freeze-dried pieces of cereal is what those are.
Well, let's hear it. Hear it snap. Here, I'm going to break it.
Yeah,
You hear that crunch?
Yeah.
I love this. It's really good.
I'm stopping and starting my diet a billion times, and one of the things that I just go crazy not having is some kind of snack. And this would be perfect.
Now check this out.
Absolutely perfect.
So, you know how I don't know if you grow grapes, Woody.
I do.
So I do both juice grapes and the table grape, either seedless. But you end up with these massive clusters of grapes that you just can't eat all yourself right
Yeah,
at once.
you can't.
And
yeah.
and in the past, how do I preserve grapes? Well, if it's juice grape, it's easy. You make juice. It's wonderful.
Is what Dr. Steve has brought in.
So these
in there as well.
No, these are
Those
just,
are all
great.
great.
These it's called meal saver, or one of those suction
Yes.
things that make
Yes.
that suck the air out of a bag, but they have a little accessory that sits on top of your jar with the normal lid.
Wow.
And it sucks all the air out, creates a vacuum, and it seals it on there. So feel that. That's on there tight.
Oh yeah.
So you don't have to have. You have the dry product. I put the little, oxygen or absorber in there,
Oh wow.
and then you use that, and then that's good for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, they're actually a longer
Yeah.
preservation
It
than
is.
the regular.
But see, I can reseal this, but I wanted you to taste these so you understand what a freeze dried grape might taste like.
It's interesting when Dr. Steve held up the bottle, I thought it was just a bunch of little chickpeas. I mean, but they're large grapes that.
You guys can hear that?
That shrunk down to this.
Now, is this all the same variety?
Yeah,
of
this is
grape?
all the same variety of grape.
Wow.
The Thompson seedless is what these are. Thompson seedless grape.
Wow, that's great.
And so freeze drying has sort of changed the way that I look at things. And
Well, and
it's
the
been
neat thing
wonderful.
about this, if you were carrying it around for a snack, it's dry, it's not wet and messy.
Right.
And if you eat it, fine. If you don't,
Just put it
another
back
day.
on.
Yeah.
Well, this would be perfect, if you added some nuts, some.
Squash, I didn't know what to do with. So I baked the squash, basically cooked it first, and then you slice it into little pieces, and then but so anyway, the squash. Let me know
Look
before
how nice those are.
It looks like a bunch of slices of.
But they're perfect almost.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just really nice.
Yeah, and so squash is the same way, but in the case of stick it in a pan, add some water. Not only is it preserve the natural, nutrition and flavor and everything, but it's
Still at these
Yeah,
grapes.
the only thing
It's
is,
just amazing.
Steve, tell them how much a freeze dryer costs.
yeah, they're prohibitive. They're between $3,000 and $4,000.
Oh, I can afford that.
Yeah, I'll buy 4 of them. That would, really, if you're going to do it and you have a family, that's a good investment. That really
Yes.
isn't that bad.
In fact, sometimes people will not just the produce from your garden. They'll put that in either a Mylar bag or in these vacuum sealed bottles, and then that's food storage.
I can visualize almost even a group of people that would share one
Right.
and use it.
Yeah.
Now with those meats, after the freeze dried, you don't have to refrigerate them.
You don't have to refrigerate them.
No kidding.
Yep.
And they're those vacuum sealed bags, or like you said, the can
bottles,
process,
yeah.
the bottles.
Yeah, and so then in the case of meats, I dressing.
Now,
and all
when
that
you're
stuff.
going to use it, what's the process of?
So then, in that case, what you'll do is you'll slowly rehydrate in, soak it in. I'm still trying to learn this process with the meat sort of things, but if you put it in, after it's rehydrated, then you can cook it.
I
use it
was thinking kind of warm boiling it.
Yeah,
but,
you
but,
could.
But you recommend kind of a
slower,
little bit slower
and
process.
then after it's rehydrated, then you're good.
Okay.
So it's not as
Chili, it's a sort of tradition. Had some left over, freeze dried my chili. And then chili, you dump it in the pot, add some water, heat it up, and there you go. So
that's simple.
that's simple too.
Yeah.
See, you're saving a lot of money. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people just, once you're done,
They
throw it
throw
away.
away.
So, stick it in the freezer. It's just never quite as good, after it sits in the
No.
freezer
And
for
no.
6 months.
And this kind of stuff seems to come all at once. It's all in the
Right.
fall
Mm-hmm.
when the harvest and your neighbor comes and gives you 8 or 10 squash or you just
Just the way that
if you've done the
approach it.
bottles and the seal bags.
I haven't done the. Actually, I've done those too.
And which
so
do you find the best?
This is the best because I found that, if you seal them in the bags and you sit them on your shelf, they're not quite airtight. Over time, I think air kind of leaks into them. My kids, I send it home with them. Like I'll make, as many of you can know, apples are not great.
Yeah, they're not.
Not the hard crisp, but they got a great flavor. And so I'll make freeze-dried apples, which are wonderful, or I'll make a lot of applesauce. And my grandkids love the applesauce. It's really delicious.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know, or they love the applesauce, and squash too. They love the squash. You know, when they were younger, you know, instead of their own baby food out of my freeze-dried stuff.
it's
Yeah.
healthier.
Yeah.
That's great.
So yeah.
I really like that. I think that would really be fun, and it would be.
Well, it is, and it is satisfying to know that you can grow your own food. Well, you either give it away or you do this preserving, and one of the new age ways to preserve is this freeze drying, and I really like it.
And back to the apple, or back to the peach. Yeah, back to the peach it gave me.
Yeah.
It was not chewy.
No.
It was actually crisp.
Right.
I mean, that is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So,
In fact, I wonder what the difference is. In the stores, they have these bags of fruit that are, I don't know if they're
Some of
freeze.
first.
It is jam.
Oh, it
it
is
is.
jam.
So
But
this is
it's from that tree
The
that.
pluot.
Yeah.
This is a
Oh.
pluot jam, and I just want to introduce this fruit because it's the tree does well here,
Uh-huh.
and it's a fruit that a lot of people don't know about, and I would encourage people to use it because
Where'd you get the tree from? Do you know?
I think I got it. And the plums sometimes are a little too soft as far as their texture, but it's better than
And you process it just like any
Yeah.
fruit.
right. Yeah. So
Now, how do your kids and grandkids like it?
they like the jam.
It was forced down here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna open up this pluot jam, sugar, or the taste of the fruit as opposed to the taste of the sugar. You know, but here.
Well, this
once
is
you-
so kind that you brought in these samples. This
Yeah.
is so nice.
So this is pluot jam.
I'm glad you did because I thought about a tree and
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm tasting the pluot for the very first combination of apricot and plum.
Right.
that's good.
Isn't that? That's my favorite jam.
Yeah.
Raw freeze-dried pluot. I almost brought those in, but I
I see. So
But
you
this is the
you
sugar.
freeze dry those too.
I'll freeze-dry those too. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great taste.
Yeah, that is.
That's something I've never tasted before.
Yeah,
That's
it's like you're
out of the world.
You're
Out
sitting
of
here
this world.
thinking, now what is that? You know.
Kind of the two favorite jams.
Now pomegranate, they're a little hard to deal with.
Yeah.
That's the drawback to pomegranates.
And earlier in the program, you mentioned that they're starting to bloom, and it seems like are they late?
No.
Or,
they're just not mature yet.
Oh,
So the
okay.
fruit is sitting there on the tree, but they're still kind of greenish
Oh.
color. They don't fully
They're
mature.
yeah, they're later in the
It's
fall.
late fall, you know.
So they're late bloomers.
Right, and so they are. And so they're not ready yet. You know, it's probably pick them and then I
Now,
juice them.
How do you? Is that what you do? Is put them through a juicer?
I put them through a juicer. So I know that there are lots of ways that people do it with the presses and that sort of thing, but I found the best way is using a juicer, the Jack LaLanne juicer.
The machine.
Got the little machine. It's got that high-speed blade.
Yeah.
You know, and you take. Well, first of all, you know the best way that I've figured out how to seed or to get rid of the husk and to free up the seeds
Yeah.
is kind of underwater. I'll cut them in half,
Uh-huh.
kind of break them off with my hands. I just use my fingers under the water, like in a sink, and you work my fingers through the flesh of the pomegranate.
You just
And,
pop the
and they
seeds.
pop them out, and the seeds will float to the bottom, and the husk and the pulp floats to the top. So
Oh, wow.
it separates that way. You know,
Wow.
I've tried they talk about the ones where you turn it upside down and beat it with a a spoon or something. That just doesn't
Yeah.
work as well for me. So anyway, you end up with this big bowl of beautiful pomegranate seeds, and you start pouring them into that juicer, and it makes the greatest juice. And so then I'll freeze the juice just for juice, but then I'll usually do a couple of batches of pomegranate. You know, kind of killed off the 24 years I've been here. You know, pomegranates do really well here.
Yeah. They have a variety that's the people variety, and it's pomegranates could be, you know, they're a little bigger than almost softball size.
Yeah, most of mine are about the size. Then basil and oregano that I've thrown in the freeze dryer, and then you got these, you know, herbs that you can.
Time for
Yeah.
us because it's and can tell us firsthand. And even bring in samples. You can leave all the samples.
Samples and everything. Well, Dr. Steve, thank you so much for sharing, you know, your thoughts and your experiences about canning and Garden Show on Radio St. George 100.3 up next.
God,
For taking your time.
and to bring this has really been a treat.
Yeah, these are good, aren't they?
Yeah, I've got a. Well, see, my kids are all grown.